welcome everyone you were listening to and perhaps watching Hot Sauce Sports. I'm Pease Delarize. I'm joined, of course, by the 7-candle adorning Terry Tam.
8 candles.
Is it 8? I see 7 in the view.
There is
I'm pretty
7.
sure it is 7. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's
7
8
candles,
nights.
8 crazy nights.
That's what it is. So I thought that. I just wanted to, pay respects to our Jewish friends, which is, I think we're in our 4th day of Hanukkah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Happy Chanukah to them. For those unaware, Smokey Robinson recorded a delightful cameo where he's wishing someone happy Hanukkah, not realizing how it often can be spelled, and kept on saying, I don't know what Chanukah is, but happy Chanukah to you. Hope you have a great one. My God, I never thought we'd be at a place where a cameo would be something people would like. I don't know. Like, would you want to get a generic message from a celebrity?
No, you pick what the guy says. I've done it for people.
Really?
I did Mike Goldberg, the UFC announcer, well now Bellator announcer, and he has a lot of catchphrases. He has one that says virtually identical, just like that, and like a few other ones. So I sent him a script, and he incorporated his catchlines in there to my 2 friends who look exactly alike. They're brothers, and he's like, "You guys are virtually identical." And then I told him to fuck ta mère at the end, to go fuck your mother. And he says it. He's like, "Fuck Tamari, fuck Tamari, whatever it is, fuck something, boys." It was a really good clip. $20.
So what we need to do is every time I get upset with our Alex the intern, instead of responding to him, I'll just send him a cameo with someone popular berating him.
That's amazing, because you can get some cheap ones like $5, $10. Obviously, the bigger the star, the more expensive it is. Like Caitlyn Jenner was doing for like $5,000 on one point. Like, there's some crazy people on there. Floyd Mayweather's on it now. I mean,
there's an esports team that got Johnny Sins to introduce their new coach.
I saw that.
Hilarious.
We talked about
I
that.
now know who Johnny Sins is.
No, you always knew who he was. Now you know his name.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Yeah. Now I can associate a face to a name.
Eagle.
If ever you need a plumber or a firefighter or a teacher or a policeman, you know who to call.
Johnny Sins is your guy.
Eagle, while we're doing the show, if you can find me the lowest range of cameo celebrities, and we'll think of what it is we'd like him to tell Alex the intern. Just keep launching them at us as we do the show.
Do you mean price-wise? Or
price,
because I can get like F-list celebrities if you want.
Yeah, but like it has to be someone who like is famous enough to be known, but not like famous enough that it's gonna like be expensive. Because I don't want to spend money on Alex the intern.
So like a gospel singer?
Yeah, sure. A name that's been familiar, even like if someone was in a B movie or someone who had like a moment of fame that we'd all remember,
or like an old fullback that nobody really cared about, but somehow he's on cameo, something like that.
Okay, I can find some of those.
Speaking of which, Terry, did you know? And this isn't in our news because it broke literally as we were writing the script.
I was just reading the article.
Taliaferro died this morning.
Yeah, I just read the article.
28 years old.
28. Yeah, 28 and heart attack.
Yeah,
that's pretty fucked up.
It's messed up. He was
surprised they didn't blame COVID.
Yeah, well, he was my introduction to fantasy football. My first season that I played fantasy football was the season that like Ray Rice was arrested for beating his wife in the elevator and
fantasy football late then.
Yeah, I haven't been playing that long. I remember it specifically because Duke's team name was Beats by Ray. And I remember like there's a guy every season. I think this season's guy's got to be like Savon Ahmed, like a guy who gets to start late in the season, who like you're just like putting all your fantasy hopes on. There was those two. There was Jerick McKinnon one year, and the other Minnesota running back who I can't remember. But there's always these guys who like have like 2 or 3 weeks in the sun, and that's how I remember Lorenzo Taliaferro. He was my first season dealing with situations in fantasy football where you need a guy. Yeah, exactly. Asiata was the guy. Asiata was the other guy I was thinking of from Minnesota. But yeah, so tough to see his loss. But I was actually thinking about something else completely before we got to the show. My wife and I have a a jar. We've got a whole bunch of Christmas movies in here. We've been making our way through them. Every night we pick one at random. She chose 10 movies. I chose 10 movies. And every night we get together. We watch a Christmas
consensus. Movie. So what have you watched so far?
Well, I was going to talk about one specifically. We've had some pretty good ones. We watched Edward Scissorhands the other day. We watched Elf. That one came out. Yeah, Elf is up there. Elf is absolutely Mount Rushmore of Christmas movies.
My girlfriend says no, but whatever.
What?
Yeah, she says Elf sucks. Well, she doesn't like Will Ferrell.
All right, well, she's wrong.
She's absolutely wrong.
10% of people in the world, it's a thing, though. 10% of people in the world don't like Will Ferrell.
And they're wrong. It's okay.
They're wrong. It's okay. It's very okay to be wrong.
Yeah. I was wrong about Kenny and Drake the fantasy season, for example. No. So I want to talk about the movie that you've rewatched, Christmas or otherwise. If it's Christmas, it's ideal. But bring up a movie that you rewatched, having such fond memories of when you were young, and then when you rewatch it as an adult, you're like, man, I shouldn't have done this. So the movie for us, and my wife hadn't seen it yet, and I'm filibustering so you guys have a moment to think of your movies.
Yeah,
was absolutely Gremlins. We watched Gremlins.
And is that the animated one?
No, the actual movie from the 80s.
I never saw it, but I know what you're talking about.
And Don't Feed Them After Midnight and such. I had such a fond memory of watching this, and I remember as a kid having the toys, both the cute ones, the little Baby Yoda type Gremlins, and the gross ones, and like I remember saying the catchphrases forever: "Don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet," so on and so forth. We rewatched it, and my God, I had to tell my wife, I was like, yeah, it's not what I remembered. It's not exactly what I remembered. It was a sad moment for me.
You always remember movies a lot differently when you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't do it. My battery might die.
What's happening?
My battery might die. We're
You
good.
had one job, charge it.
Very professional. Very professional.
I don't even know if it was going to die or not. The screen went kind of dark.
So what's that movie for you, Terry?
A movie that represents that's not as good now. It has to be a Christmas movie?
No, I mean, it's ideal, but if not, it's okay.
Okay, so let me go then while you're waiting.
Go ahead.
Do you guys remember the 1992 film starring Robin Williams called Toys?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Toys.
So I remember watching this as a kid thinking like, oh my God, this is like terrifying and also amazing at the same time, right? Because spoilers, his sister is a robot that their dad made for he has company at a toy factory, and I was just like, holy shit. And then I watched it more recently and I'm like, this film fucking sucks, like it's awful. And I went to go look at the Wikipedia page. They won the Razzie Award for worst director and was a box office bomb. So yeah, I think I'm right as an adult.
Yeah, I had that same experience with that movie too, Eagle. I remembered it being awesome, and it was not. By the way, good guy Eagle putting out a spoiler alert for a movie that's 18 years old.
Yeah, you never know.
That no one's going to watch because it's
not 18, 28 years old.
Oh, sorry, 28 years old. My mistake. Yeah.
There's a lot of... Yeah, so for me, it was a movie called You Got Served. You ever see that movie?
You Got Served? Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
So You Got Served is like a dance competition movie.
Yeah,
so when I was in high school,
college, I want to say.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I loved that movie because it was my brother and I memorized all the dance moves.
Nice.
Yeah, all of them, and it was good back then. And then when I rewatched it later, I was like, oh, it's on TV. I'll catch it. I'm like, this movie's pretty bad. Like it's pretty awful. Like Steve Harvey took a paycheck on that, like a real nice paycheck on that one because there was no effort in that movie in any way. The worst acting I've ever seen in my life.
Did you watch NFL football this weekend?
I actually did not watch a lick of football this weekend.
All right. Were you under the influence at all this weekend?
I know what happened, but no, I was not influenced at all this weekend.
Well, I have an NFL blitzed. So Eagle, hit up that imaging.
Here we go.
Smoke weed every day.
We can't hear it, so
it's playing.
All right.
Just don't worry. Just do your job.
It played. Go.
All right, so NFL Blitz is a segment where while under the influence and watching NFL football, we have these incredible thoughts that come to us. This week, I had one specifically, and I realized I was watching the Cleveland Browns take on the Ravens, and what was probably the game of the year, which we'll talk about once we get to news. But I was watching the game, great game, and I realized, man, Baker Mayfield seems better without having Odell Beckham. And like Odell Beckham's like this like incredible receiver, like the numbers he put up when he came into the league, and like he's still been good. He just hasn't been that explosive. And I realized the problem with their relationship is they never met my father, Pops, known for Pops' picks. The reason why is my dad has all these old-timey sayings because my dad is 70 years old, right?
Because he's an old-timey guy.
He's an old-timey guy. And so he has these old-timey sayings. And one of them was he used to go to the bakery, and once in a while he would always tell the young girl at the bakery, being like, hey, you want to give me that baker's dozen? Meaning getting 13 buns instead of 12, right? And so once in a while they do it. And when he would get home and get a baker's dozen, he'd be so happy. And so I realized Odell Beckham wears number 13.
Yes.
Baker Mayfield never heard of the baker's dozen. Just put it on 13. Right in the breadbasket, baby. That's what he's missing. He's missing some Cosmo de la Rocca in his life. That's the problem with Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. And that was NFL Blitz.
This is what you were thinking about when you were blitzed?
Nonstop. All I could think about watching that game was like, Baker's dozen. My wife walks in, and I'm like, out of it. And she walks in, she's like, you still watching the game? I was like, yeah, it's a great game. So okay, I'm going to bed, and I'm like, Baker's dozen. And she had no idea what I was talking about. I'm like, just remember it for tomorrow, Baker's dozen. So the next day, she's like,
write it on the walls.
You just kept saying Baker's dozen last night, man.
You should just start writing stuff on the walls when you're blitzed.
Yeah, she would straight up murder me. Straight up murder my face.
Guys, I've done a little bit of research while you were getting blitzed. We can get Ray Lewis on Cameo. He's $300, so no thanks.
Geez,
We can get Brian Billick, the winning coach of the Baltimore Ravens, for $150, so no thank you. But I think I found something that's going to work. Former Heisman Award winner, 2006, Troy Smith, drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in the 5th round in the 2007 draft, and then ended up playing for the Montreal Alouettes. He's $35 on Cameo, so there's a good one for Alex the intern.
That's pretty good. I like. Look, if we want to splurge and get Ray Lewis, like it is Christmas, it's a time of spending. We get Ray Lewis to threaten to murder Alex the intern. That's not bad. We also what can we do with Troy Smith? What can be the gimmick for Troy Smith? What can we have him say?
I think we just have him just like a series of jokes and just like rail them off at Alex in Troy Smith way. Like, do you, man? Just be you.
Yeah, just Troy it up.
Troy it up and show us that Heisman Trophy spirit, and let's see what you're made of. He's a big Ravens fan.
Apologize for doing nothing.
Apologize. Didn't he play for the Alouettes?
He did.
Yeah.
Not well, but he played.
Okay, Eagle. Professional athlete. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. How many Heisman Trophies have you won,
None, but neither
Eagle
of you.
probably has like a Heisman Trophy for like nerd stuff, like the processing data entries and stuff. I don't know.
I have won Employee of the Year multiple times. So.
That's the thing that
Same
they
thing,
do.
same thing.
That's what they do. That instead of like giving you a raise, they just give you Employee of the Year. It's like
they give me both.
Like I give Alex the intern Employee of the Month once a month just so we don't have to pay him.
And with that,
Eagle, get 3 more ready before we go to rapid fire. But before all that, it's time for the news. Terry's the news. I did that last week with Duke as well. I called him Terry. So Ravens Browns. You didn't watch this game, but it was game of the year. Did you watch any of the highlights at all?
I watched nothing of this game, but I was live. I was working, right? It was Monday nighter, so I was live on Twitter, and I was watching whatever was going on there. So I saw a few things, but I didn't see the ending. I didn't see how crazy it was. But everybody's talking about it as like game of the year, game of the century almost.
It was awesome. Like there was, under 2 minutes left, and Lamar Jackson, who had come out of the game, maybe had to take a shit. We don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and say had to take a shit.
Yeah, look at the way he was running.
Yeah. I've choked one up like that. We're like, you let one go because you think you have to fart, but then you feel like the head of the nugget just poke its way out there. That's what number 8 was doing. He was holding in his number 2.
Also, he's like, it's a calf cramp. I've had calf cramps. I've torn my calf, and I did not run with my butt cheeks clenched.
Yeah, you only do that. You only do that when you're trying to keep the groundhog at bay.
That's it.
He came back, rolled to his right, threw up a ball for Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown finally makes a play of the season. It was awesome. It was just, you know what, that in itself would have been a great ending, but it gave Baker Mayfield some time. Baker Mayfield making throw after throw after throw, 75 yards, no timeouts, ends up hitting Kareem Hunt, who lunges into the end zone, touchdown, leaving time for the Ravens, however, to go upfield. And of course, Justin Tucker can kick a ball into another universe, and that's what he does. And game over. It was when I saw Trace McSorley come in, I was like, I'm going to bed. I'm not watching Trace McSorley. I woke up to like a flurry of messages, like 15 minutes later from our intern who's a Ravens fan. I then, take the phone, start watching the game. And then I was so exhilarated by the ending, I couldn't sleep. So I was falling asleep on the couch, get up, go to bed.
It's always like that.
Up till 4 because I can't sleep because of how sick the ending was. Great
it's
game.
always like that. You can't. You pass out on the couch like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed. You go to bed and your eyes are wide awake, especially after you finish the game you're watching, you're falling asleep, whatever it is. Then you can't go to bed after. You can't go for like 2 hours because somehow a game that happened thousands of miles away affected you.
Yeah,
it gave you energy.
But that's the beauty of sport. And we make fun of sort of sports meatheads, right? Like we make fun of the over serious coverage of sports, but we're also sports meatheads because we're up till 4 in the morning after a game that has zero impact on our life. They're not even teams we like or care about. But you're up after you're done. That's what it is.
Part of the reason why I watch Ravens games is so they can lose and we can make fun of Alex the intern. That's
the only reason.
99% of the reason why I'd watch a game.
And I will say though, for all the heat Baker Mayfield's taken this year, he's had 3 straight games where they're basically playing in blizzards, and he actually has these moments where he looks good. Is he going to be sort of the next Ryan Tannehill, where for 6 years the fan base is like, is he good? I don't know. If you ask me now if Ryan Tannehill's good as a Miami Dolphins fan, I can't tell you definitively if the player is a good football player or not, and that's what I feel like we're heading towards with Baker Mayfield.
The thing with Baker Mayfield is that he makes it so hard to like him.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it hard on himself. He makes it hard for media guys like us, or I don't mind the guy. I don't mind the attitude and things like that. But he complains when people talk about him, and then he complains when he doesn't get enough respect, so people don't talk about him. Yeah. And then he complains when they don't talk. So it doesn't. He's just all over the place. He has this chip on his shoulder. He's an asshole. He's like an asshole.
But I like assholes. That's my thing.
I don't mind assholes that much, but he's like an actual asshole. There's different kinds of assholes. Bill Belichick is an asshole, but he's like a likable asshole. Baker Mayfield is he's like he thinks he's owed something. You know what I mean? And that's the part that people don't like about Baker. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he'll be a fine quarterback for his career. I don't see Super Bowls, but what the fuck do I know? I think he's going to have success, good career, but nothing to what he thinks he's going to achieve.
But he's one of those guys who plays in the NFL. You can clearly see loves football, right? Like you see when he scored the touchdown, how much that too. But he gets so excited on things, and I think part of the whole I don't get no respect type of act that he plays is so that he's always in the media, right? You're always talking about him. You're not talking about Andy Dalton, for example, right? Because he's been around longer, but nobody talks about him. But for some reason, Baker Mayfield puts himself in the news.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that he didn't get a scholarship at first. He had to walk on, earn the spot. Then he had to leave the school to get a starter spot at another school at Oklahoma. So he's always had this chip on his shoulder to work hard. But then he got drafted first overall in the NFL. The chip is gone.
Well, you see that today, but I remember that draft. I remember how many people criticized the Browns for choosing Baker Mayfield over who I can't even remember was the other option that year.
Wasn't it Saquon Barkley?
No. But I mean of quarterbacks, I don't remember who the second best quarterback of that draft was. But I remember a lot of people really coming down on them for that, and I can imagine how someone with that background also takes that to heart.
Yeah, it was Saquon Barkley, Sam Darnold,
Sam Darnold, that's it.
Josh Allen, Josh Rosen,
So I mean, they were pretty much right. Like it's between him
Lamar
and Josh
Jackson.
Allen.
Lamar Jackson.
Well, Lamar Jackson, but I mean, like Lamar Jackson, very few teams wanted to take him that early. Although
Yeah.
I remember I was saying he was my favorite player in any position of the draft that year.
Yeah.
But like whatever, there were question marks, so fine. But it ends up being between him and Josh Allen in reality, right? Like of guys who realistically could have gone that early, it ends up going between those two. And had the Browns taken Josh Allen that early, there would have been even more of a reaction to them, passing up on Sam Darnold, which seems to have been the right decision. But you mentioned how like the team is good, how he's good, but probably you don't see Super Bowls in the future. I think the main reason for that is Pat Mahomes is going to win all of them, right? Like
every single one.
It's so Kansas City beats the Dolphins. Yeah, I get it. I've seen all the jokes. I've been on Twitter. I get it. I'm actually not even upset by the game. They turned over the Chiefs 4 times, 3 interceptions to Patrick Mahomes. He had 2 coming into the game. Tua looked all right. There was sort of a lull in the middle of the game where they allowed KC to get up 30-10 because KC can do that at any point. It's like Golden State Warriors. Like, yes, be happy with your third quarter lead that's going to evaporate in 6 minutes. That's kind of what KC does in football. But then at that point, from the point it was 30-10, the Dolphins limited them to under 20 yards of offense and actually legitimately came back and had a fleeting hope to actually win that game. So I feel like both teams can come out of that game and be like, all right, that kind of is what we expected. We expected Mahomes to be great. He was bad by his standards, but great overall. We expected the KC to win. They did. It was 7 points. It was literally the spread of the game. And Tua looked fine. I don't know. That's what I got from it. What were your impressions?
The thing is that as a Dolphins fan, you should be happy with the way the game played out. Obviously not. You should be content, not happy. Obviously, you guys lost. But the thing is about the Dolphins is that nobody expected them to win this year. They knew that they have a 3-5 year window where they can build something to make a Super Bowl. And I've been on record. I've said it 100 times. I think the Dolphins are going to be in the Super Bowl in 3 years and like around that era.
Well, if they can get by Mahomes.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But we have to rely on something happening to the Chiefs. They're not going to be able to afford everybody. They just paid off Kelsey. So it's going to be Mahomes and Kelsey. They're probably going to lose all their running backs. They might have to it's going to be a little bit of a clusterfuck when it comes to salary cap for them. So they're not going to be the Chiefs that we see today, but they will always be a problem. But
in the same game that Mahomes throws 3 interceptions, he makes a throw off his back foot 40 yards downfield over two defensive backs into the hands of Tyreek Hill. Like, what do you do with that? Like, that throw is perfect.
Is you can't do anything, but the Dolphins were so close. There's just that one crazy play that happens, and the game goes the other way. It's a 14-point swing.
Tua takes a sack at the end of the half, gets them out of field goal range, and then it turns out, and then like the Chiefs get the ball back where they wouldn't have if that didn't happen. And Tyreek runs this end around for a touchdown for like 40 yards. So, I mean,
that's the thing is that Tua's going to know.
That's the one play that changes the game.
Well, Tua's going to know when he gets more experience. Just throw it away. Just throw it away. And that's the thing is that I'm not worried about the Dolphins because of this game. They might not make the playoffs this year, but I do think that next year is going to be their year to make a real run for it. If Tua keeps on progressing the way he's progressing, because he's looked good every single week, and I've been wrong about him.
There just seems to be teams that can't get kickers, and they're all in the NFC North except for the Packers.
Well, even Mason Crosby had like a few years where he was like a little off, but they stuck with him, and they're like, "No, we're sticking with you. You're the guy."
So is that what the Vikings are doing with Dan Bailey?
Oh my God, man! So Dan Bailey with the Cowboys was really good, like lights out, and then he wasn't, which is like every kicker in the NFL. You're good until you're not, and then you're done. And that's.
But can you explain that, Terry? Because like nobody,
it's mental.
Nobody like you see this sometimes with golfers, and you see this with kickers. Like you don't really get the yips at the free throw line. Like you tend to shoot your percentage.
Yeah.
All the time. Maybe in one specific, but nobody falls apart where like they're a great free throw shooter for 3 years and then they're garbage the rest of their career.
Yeah.
But to your point, this happens with kickers. I remember back in the day, Olindo Mare with the Dolphins. We remember Cody Parkey with the Bears.
Gostowski.
Yeah, all these guys. And is it just that, like, as you get older, it's hard to kick a ball that far, or is it? It's
I
just
think it's mental. I really think it's mental. I really think that it gets in your head. Don't miss, don't miss, don't miss, which is what you're gonna do when you keep on thinking that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like kickers it's such a mental game. Like we're gonna see Rodrigo Blankenship go on like a cold streak, and he's gonna get cut by the Colts, and he'll sign with the Vikings, and then do well, and the year after do shit. Like it's this weird. We know what somebody should write a book on just kickers.
Yeah.
And the mentality and explain what the fuck is going on. And also in that book, I would like to know dick sizes I would like to know dick sizes relative to the percentage of their field goal of their field goals, because I think that there's a correlation there. Bigger the dick, Justin Tucker, better field goal.
I need a medical professional to weigh in on the girth and size of these penises. I'll write it.
Where's Dr. Aquila? Where's Dr. Eagle?
But don't you think it would actually interfere with your kicking motion? Like, what if you're just there and everything? You look in the crowd, you see this, bombshell, and now you go for your kick, and you're like, oh, crap, now you got a little bit of friction in your kicking motion. You whiff it a little to the left. You're like, God damn it, my dick's so big.
No, because you can roll it up like a fruit roll-up.
I don't think you can. I'm not Dr. Eagle, but I do think that's a possibility.
I'm not a doctor, but I don't think you can roll up your dick like a fruit roll-up.
Maybe like a cinnamon roll, but not like a fruit roll.
Oh yeah, a cinnamon roll. Yeah,
I can see a cinnamon roll. But I have a question too. Like, so if you have the disposition where it hangs to one side, like if it drifts to the left, do you have to pull more?
Doesn't everybody have that?
Well, some people it'll go the other way. Some people it goes more upwards.
I don't know anybody that when the
shot.
dick hangs, it goes to the right or straight middle. I know everybody goes left.
I know a straight shot.
No, there's a little angle to the left.
No, dude, I'm telling you, it's like an arrow.
Is it Duke?
Yes. But let's say, so is that why kickers prefer like kicking from one side of the field? It's to oppositely compensate for the dick placement. Is the ball placement oppositely corollary to the dick placement?
Absolutely. I think if you're the bigger the dick, the more to the outside your ball has to be. So to create that separation, when your balls stick to the side of your leg, and you kind of like but you can't put your hand in because you're in public to like loosen it up. So you guys got to stretch out your leg a bit. So like, and then you slowly feel the skin detach, from the side of your leg. I think you need that motion the ball needs to be on the outside, kind of like a fade in golf.
Yeah, it's what you're describing as the scrotum lunge.
Scrotum lunge, exactly.
Yeah, scrotum lunge is very important. It's an important technique every man needs to know. Jalen Hurts taking over the helm in Philadelphia, and it looks like Carson Wentz's expensive scrotum will be on the bench for a while in Philadelphia.
So do you think he got like a custom-made bench with all the money he had that he can sit on, almost like a throne that he just brings around to all his games, or?
I think Carson Wentz is so oblivious to how much money he got paid. I think he's the guy. He's like the airhead in the room. He's the bimbo, I think.
The crazy thing, though, Terry, is they haven't even started paying that contract. The extension starts after the season.
It's crazy.
And like you can't blame them. At the time that he signed the contract, there was the injuries, sure, but like he recovered. He was playing at an MVP caliber level at the time he signs the contract.
I'm also not blaming him. I do think that he's a good quarterback. Quarterbacks have slumps. He's having a really long one, but I can't blame Wentz because we've seen him do well. So it's not like we don't know he can do it. I think coaching is a huge factor. That's a huge factor.
But you don't think they gambled on that contract? Like at the time he signed the extension, how much experience did he actually have? A little over a season, and that included the injury, right?
But Eagles. So like, there's two types of contracts. There's two types of contracts. One where you're paying for past success. So the gamble is that you think that they can live up to what they did in their past, which if someone's a bit older, that's harder to justify. Or they're doing what you want them to do. Like you're saying, listen, the GM and coach are supposed to be visionaries. Tell us if you think this guy is the future and put your money where your mouth is. And they did with Carson Wentz. And it just didn't pay out. And I don't think anyone did anything wrong. To Terry's point, I don't think it's like the guy threw for 5,000 yards last year, right? So like he has ability. It looks to me like he just simply forgot how to play the game of football.
3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round that year. You know who they were?
Goff, Wentz.
Third one.
I don't remember the third one.
Denver.
Drew Lock?
No. Drew
No, it
Lock
was
was
a
like
tall
a
guy.
third-round pick.
6'7".
Tim Tebow.
No, Paxton
No.
Lynch.
Paxton Lynch, that's it. Too tall. Too tall to play quarterback.
Too tall. You can't. Too tall. Either be a tight end or don't play football.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
just be...
become a point guard.
At 6'7".
Yeah, well, that's what they are now. Ben Simmons
funny.
is 6'9". But yeah,
That's
so
fucking crazy.
I think there's a lot of I think Peterson, he's got to get out of his own way. I get it. You're a smart guy. You're designing all these pretty plays. Your quarterback can't execute them. Jalen Hurts, I think, is a fine guy to bring in for a couple of weeks. He's like the next Ryan Fitzpatrick or next Nick Foles who can win you a couple of games, but I don't see it. Like, I don't know. Like,
Really? Yeah. I didn't watch that game, so I can't tell you.
everyone's fawning over him, and I was like, he threw to open receivers. They simplified the playbook. I don't know why they didn't do that with Wentz. They had it with Miles Sanders. I don't know why they didn't do that with Wentz.
Imagine Wentz is like, he's asking guys, like maybe we should simplify it a bit, start getting some juice going, whatever. They're like, no, the offense works. Jalen Hurts comes in. They're like, okay, we're going to simplify the offense right now. Like, how stupid does Wentz feel right now? How dumb does he feel?
At this point, he must have gone to the locker room and punched the wall. Like, it's the thing I've been saying. And, like, he's been throwing to like, a patchwork group of receivers forever in that city. Like, how do you not improve that? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
They haven't gone out and got a receiver. They need to, because I can't even name you their top 3 receivers.
Well, Jalen Reagor was drafted. Alshon Jeffrey played this week, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So
Ertz was hurt this year, so he's not 100% as a standard bailout. And defenses are adapting and just double teaming him anyways, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have a bailout option.
They have Dallas Goedert there, but he was injured.
Whoever their tight end is, the defenses are just building a triangle over it. Like, it's a high-low with a double team, and they're doing that constantly. So you can't throw there. That's going to be an interception if you throw into 3 guys, because they're not worried about running the ball.
And guess what he leads in this year?
Interception.
Yeah.
Interceptions and sacks, because he's always looking there, and it's never open.
They're telling him, look at Ertz, look at Ertz, look at Ertz, look at Goddard. But at the end of the day, if they're covered, he's still going to throw it there. And that's the problem, is that he's not being coached properly. We can take, like, if let's say Sam Darnold was drafted first overall, back to the previous draft. If let's say Sam Darnold was drafted first overall, and then Baker Mayfield was drafted by the Jets, we'd be talking about them the exact same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we'd say Baker Mayfield would be shit because he'd be under Gase. He would have probably already gotten Gase fired anyway.
Well, I was going to say the difference is Baker Mayfield got there, saw he wasn't going to do anything with Hugh Jackson, and Hugh Jackson was gone.
Hugh Jackson, by the way, $60 on Cameo if we want to get him.
Oh.
Although it might be disappointing.
No, you know what? He's got some color. He's got some, like, he's good. He's funny when he wants to be.
I think what Eagles meant, though, is disappointing in that the results might not be what you paid for, like his coaching career.
I mean, yeah, it's a risk. Imagine you're such a bad coach that nobody wants to pay you for a cameo.
No, just imagine we do it for Alex the intern. He's like, "Hey, Andy, the identity." He just fucks up the name entirely.
That'd be good.
Hey, Andy, the pastry chef.
The Falcons and Chargers found a way to end the game in the most Falcon Chargers way. They traded picks 3 times at the end of the game. And this is at the end of a game where Anthony Lynn butchered the end of the half, where he ran the football, and then the team had no timeouts, and then they tried to run the kicking team out there, and time expired before the kicking team could set up. This is 1 week after Anthony Lynn decided that he was going to take charge of special teams. I said earlier in the year that I think he survives just because, the rookie quarterback thing of like, hey, listen, we made a lot of good strides, but it's a rookie quarterback. He's got to learn. There's not a way Anthony Lynn survives this season, right?
I think he will.
After
I think he will.
Not even knowing that you can't run the ball with no timeouts.
There's a lot of politics that play into this decision if they fire him. And I think that's why they're going to keep him around for 1 more year. Well, at least very short leash like Freddie Kitchens was. Very short leash.
Well, Freddie Kitchens didn't last past the season because his offense was a joke.
That's what I'm saying. But like he's on a short leash just like Freddie Kitchens was, where as the first mistake you make, you're out. Like that's pretty much what it is. Which pretty much what it should have been with McCarthy, but isn't. So. Well,
McCarthy has this. He's known for being this genius, right? So that's why he's still the coach of the Cowboys.
But Anthony Lynn, listen, nobody's talking about him as if he's this offensive guru, right? He's made a lot of mistakes, time management mistakes, a lot of mistakes. I think that with a young group like that, he can have some success in that division, but I just don't see it going forward, like in the long haul. And that's the question that they have to ask themselves: do we see Anthony Lynn bringing Justin Herbert to beat the Chiefs in the division? And the answer is no. So I don't know if
maybe the plan is he's good for his
Mm-hmm.
development, but not good for necessarily winning. And they know in the short term they're not going to have a competitive team to be able to do that. So take your licking, lose a couple seasons, but build up all that experience, and then make a run later on with another coach.
Maybe I mean, all these ideas are very, very plausible. All these ideas are very realistic, but realistically, no, it's not.
I have the best scenario. I think the Chargers hire Raheem Morris. I think the Falcons hire Anthony Lynn, and we watch this exact game play out the exact same way next season in Week 13. How's that?
I don't know how Raheem Morris snuck his way to a head coaching job again.
It was an interesting game, and watching the interceptions made me laugh because like the two quarterbacks are too good to be making the mistakes, right? Like Justin Herbert looks special. Matt Ryan has been very good for a long time, and yet they're just throwing the ball into the chests of opponents because they don't know what's going on in their own teams.
It's this. I watched football this year, and sometimes I'm flabbergasted that these guys are professionals, but what the hell do I know? Obviously, like Matt Ryan is good. He's had these fucking games where he looks amazing, and then he has what we saw last week, where it's like, where are you throwing it? And we talked about it a few weeks ago. You lose your power in your arm, and you might think the play is there, but it's not there. Tom Brady's lost it. I mean, well, not Tom Brady's lost it. He's still thrown 30 touchdowns this year already.
His numbers throwing deep outside the numbers is not great.
But he's also thrown 30 touchdowns already this year. That's crazy.
But it's. I think that what happened with Tom Brady is maybe 5 or 6 years ago, he realized, oh, this is where my body's at now. Yeah. I'm going to commit myself to getting as much out of it as possible, and I'm going to make the throws I know I can still make, and not force throws I can't make. And he's so smart and so good at placing the ball that defenses can try to adapt, and they do try to adapt. They leave the outside streaks open, and he doesn't force the ball there unless the guy's really completely open. And that just goes to how good he is. Most guys aren't that. There's ego that comes into play. Guys are like, I can still make that throw. Trust me, I can still make that throw. And I remember the first time I saw it was in Dan Marino aging, and we're seeing it with a lot of guys. And you're right, it might be Matt Ryan because, dude, 18 months ago, he had his foot on the throat of the Tom Brady and the Patriots, and they lost that game. So, up 24.
We're talking about Dan Quinn, Kyle Shanahan, and we're talking about Matt Ryan very differently if that game continues the way it was going.
Weirdly, we still talk about Kyle Shanahan the same way, just because he left.
Exactly. No, but what was it, 28-3, and he took a sack, took him out of field goal range, threw it on 3rd and 10, didn't run the clock down. Like, it was this whole weird clock management thing that they just fucked around with.
They just had to run the ball straight 3 times, gain 0 yards, lose 0 yards, kick a field goal, game over.
Game over, pretty much. And they were running the ball well that game, too. We're not going to talk about the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
No, we'll talk about the one this year. It looks as though the NFL is exploring having vaccinated frontline workers being the only ones allowed in the stadium. I saw this, and I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little jaded. It just felt like to me is like, this is the NFL doing the minimum they can do for public relations. They had a season where players have been continuously exposed. I talked about it last week. I might have even talked about it the week you were on, Terry, where I was like, the NFL's actually been a reminder of COVID instead of a break from COVID, the way the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball were. This is, to me, them doing the minimum amount to get positive press.
It is the minimum amount. It's a good thing. We're just going to see a bunch of nurses with half frozen faces, you know what I mean, on in the stands, and it's just, whatever. I mean, this is just a publicity stunt for them. If it works out, it works out. I'm happy for that. At least, it shows some respect to the frontline workers and stuff, which we want to do. But it's just another publicity stunt for the NFL. It's not. They were going to do this regardless. Announcing it like this is just a way. It's just Roger Goodell trying to score points so he keeps his job and makes $40 million a year.
It kind of it kind of reminds me of a couple of weeks ago we talked about Dave Chappelle taking HBO and Netflix to charge, saying like, you're putting out the show that has my name and I'm not being paid for it.
Yeah.
And both HBO and Netflix are being praised for removing the show from the catalog.
HBO took it off too?
They did as well. They did it yesterday.
Ah, man, I wanted to watch it. I started watching on HBO, and they just, I guess.
You know what they could have done instead? They could have just paid him.
Yeah.
That's literally doing the minimum amount, and that's what this feels like. You couldn't just invest money to frontline workers and have them paid more or pay their overtime or do something else. Like if you really want to do something that's actually meaningful instead of just a PR stunt. But whatever, it's not a bad thing either, but it is what it is.
It's a PR stunt. It is what it is.
The NBA on Christmas is back. I'm hopeful of the NBA just because of how well they handled it last time around. And the Christmas would feel weird without having the NBA on. Maybe it's just my super fandom coming into play, but I feel like the NBA on Christmas just helps it feel more like Christmas. And I think generally the season should start at the end of December rather than October when it typically does.
And you want it if going forward?
I want opening tip-off to be Christmas Day from now on.
With a shorter season?
No, same season. Go into the summer.
You can't You can't work into the summer because everybody's gone. There's no money to be made in TV in the summer.
Well, I mean, so there's been debates about that.
Okay.
The people who are pro this, the thing is that you're going up against other sports in the winter.
Yeah.
Whereas it would be terrible for the Major League Baseball because anybody who's watching Major League Baseball are now out if the NBA is happening at the same time, right? If the NBA playoffs is happening at the same time as Major League regular season, you're not capturing the market at that time. And then the Major League playoffs happens when the NFL returns, so they lose market share there. It would be bad for them, but I don't think it affects the TV market in the way because people can watch games on their phones. They take their network packages with them, right? In the age of digital streaming, so you can be on vacation and still watch the game.
But you're not. But the thing is that you're hoping is that you could be. But when they're in the winter, everybody's stationary at home. That's why numbers in the winter are through the roof. That's why.
But the NBA playoffs are already in like
June.
Late,
early June,
April, May, June, right? So
wait, what's first? Yeah, it's basketball first before hockey, or is it after?
It happens around the same time as hockey, but
there's one that starts
hockey and
earlier.
Basketball. How can I put this? Generally, the people who watch those sports don't look the same, and therefore they don't typically compete with each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's not an issue. They're two very different markets. We're not talking about
honestly,
NBA versus
as
NFL.
a fan, as a sort of a crossover fan, I love the NHL playoffs. Is up there with the best of sporting events. That's where you get actual surprises. It's the best version of hockey by far, and I love being able to flip back and forth, especially early rounds where you have like early games and late games, and you're watching both. Like I'll have one screen on like a hockey game, another screen on an NBA game. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
I've always said that the NHL playoffs is the second best tournament in sports after March Madness.
I say the Masters, March Madness, and
you know what? I'm a big after this year's Masters. I'm throwing it in there too. I was never I really got into golf this year, but I never really sat down to watch the Masters, and I actually did this year. And I went back and I watched the final round of the last 3 Masters too. And it's a crazy tournament for sure. Crazy.
I think this show found its new spirit animal, because James Harden put on some weight, but if he can.
I don't think he did because I saw a video of him practicing and he looked thin. It's just that one picture that people posted.
It's not the one picture looks terrible, right?
Yeah.
He did put on a little bit of weight. He's never been like the 6-pack ripped. Yeah. He's the only NBA player who doesn't take his shirt off at the drop of a dime. So he's hiding a bit of chunk. But looking at me and you, Terry, and even like Alex the intern, and Eagles seen some thinner days, Duke's seen some thinner days. If we can get a chubster running the NBA like James Harden, that's exciting for me. That's really like his game is boring, but he is the best scorer in the league, and now he's fat. Give me all of that.
Well,
Go ahead.
Who's the only fat guy that actually had some success? Is it Big Baby Davis? Or was it
Charles Barkley?
Charles Barkley? No, he wasn't chunky when he played. He was thin.
He was chunky when he played.
Yeah.
Similar, like he wasn't fat.
Shaq, I guess, but he was like 7
Shaq at the end.
Oh, what was that?
Miami Heat Shaq was kind of chunky.
Yeah, what was that Canadian guy that played for Vancouver? Or was he Canadian? Big country.
Oh, but he was not Canadian. But yeah,
Yeah,
he uses his name.
He was
He
a
was
chunky
a
guy
little
too. Yeah, I like that era of big men that were got a little chunk to him. You know.
Yeah.
I like that era.
But this is a guard, and he's still gets to the basket, and he still gets fouled, and he can still pull up from anywhere and hit a three.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. He's been linked with a few trade rumors. The most recent one that's being reported on, and I had mentioned, and I think this actually got a little bit more likely with Giannis signing the Supermax. Because the Heat are not going to save money now to sign Giannis at the end of the season. They now want to make a move. I think the 5 Reasons Sports Podcast talked about it. They're not like super inside, but they are based in Miami, and they've gotten a lot of this information right in the past because just by being in the city and talking to people in the city. So apparently, the what's stopping the trade from happening is the piece that the Rockets absolutely want is Tyler Hero, and the piece that the Heat don't necessarily want to throw in is Tyler Hero. But now that Giannis is off the market, I don't see them not pulling the trigger because of Tyler Hero. Because Hero's great, but you have a chance to get an MVP now and win in the next 5 years. Whereas if Hero takes 5 years to develop, your window with Jimmy Butler's gone.
Our Miami beat writer would hate this trade because he loves Tyler Hero.
Look, I like the guy too, but
yeah,
anytime you could trade, and basketball does this where like you have these teams that kind of overachieve, and you're like, yes, I'm in love with this team, but you need stars to win the NBA. It's always been the case, and Tyler Hero may become that. The Heat value him the same way. They said that they see him as being Devin Booker or better. That's a quote out of the Heat organization. I don't remember if it was Spoelstra or Riley, but one of them said that. And I can see it in terms of the way they play the game. But one is you're hoping that a guy can become that, and the other thing is a guy who you know is going to be in for the rest of his career in the MVP discussion for the next, let's say, 5 to 8 years.
Oh man, it's such a tough trade because are you willing to hemorrhage? Well, that's the thing is, like people are like, oh no, he's the future of the team, but James Harden's not 45 years old.
He's 31.
He's good for another, like you said, 4 or 5 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not MVP. He's not going to be scoring 35 points a game when he's 35. I mean, that's realistically.
But if he's scoring 26 at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
still good. And I think that if you're looking at how close they were to winning a championship last year, you don't think Harden gives them that extra edge?
Absolutely.
But does Harden play well with Jimmy Butler?
So here's the thing. That's another thing people talk about is, well, but will he fit the Miami Heat culture? But if the Miami Heat culture is a real thing, wouldn't it be that they can transform anyone, right?
Right.
Like, so that's, if you're banking on culture, that means that you could, look, they did it with Shaq, right? Shaq came in and he Dwayne Wade carried his corpse at the end, absolutely. But they won a championship with a guy who wasn't reputed to work hard. They got a ton of Hassan Whiteside, who basically is a fringe NBA player at this point. They got Dion Waiters to not be fat for a season. And Waiters is what Harden is if Waiters was insanely talented, right? Like,
take this though.
Where
has James Harden played his career? He's played OKC with the big three. Then he played in Houston where he was the guy and he was able to shoot from whatever he wants. Miami Heat, Spoelstra doesn't play that style of basketball. He doesn't play that perimeter style. So it's going to be a change for Harden for sure. The first year is going to be bad, I think. Well, the first half of the season is going to be bad at least. And then,
but if you get into the playoffs and you're the 6th seed, let's say, like they proved it this year, they were the 5 seed and made a run to the playoffs. Like if you have the pieces, it doesn't matter how you get to the play. Just get to the playoffs, and then if you have the talent,
well, they'll get in, right? They're not gonna. It's like who's gonna pass them? Washington's gonna be better than them? No, just because they have Russell Westbrook now. Like I don't know. And on the flip side, if you look at that trade with Houston, I like that trade with Houston because John Wall. I almost called him Paul Wall. John Wall and Tyler Hero would be a nice 1-2 punch, and they would play that style, you know.
Well, and they would probably have Goran Dragic, and they would have
exactly.
Duncan Robinson. Like Miami's going to have to empty out the vault if they want
of course.
James Harden.
It's not going to just be a 2 first-round picks and a Hero. It's going to be a few guys.
Yeah. Well, you need to make the money work. So guys like Olynyk would have to be involved, and Olynyk and Goran have to be in the trade just to make the money work. Period. But those are usable players that just played in the NBA Finals.
Exactly.
Giannis signed the supermax, but I don't think it means necessarily that he's staying. He might still work his way towards getting a trade at some point if things don't work his way. Because the way it works in the NBA, Terry, is the only way you can get the supermax is if you sign with the team that drafted you. But he might use this in a couple of years to be like a sign and trade of like, hey, I give you another year or two, but now I want to go to a contender. I want to go play in this market.
He's gonna ask for a trade, not ask for a trade. I think they're gonna trade him because they're not gonna be able to afford him in a couple of years. They're gonna be like, we need to save the money.
The way the cap works is any team can afford to pay him. It's just whether or not that player in the NBA, you never want to have a guy who doesn't want to be there because then they'll make it public that they don't want to be there, and you don't have as much trade value, right? So
yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how the trades work. So I don't see him playing all 5 years in Milwaukee. Does that do I seem out of off base here? Or?
No, not at all. I don't think I didn't think that he would. I didn't think he was going to last second year. I think he'll finish this year and then get traded in the offseason. Honestly, there's a trade isn't off the table at any point of this season either. I think if the price is right. I mean, if the price is right, they'll go for it. Why not? If the Houston Rockets want to do a swap, I mean,
well, that's a trade that will work because it's 2 supermaxes, right? So
yeah, but why would you give up Giannis for James Harden at this point?
Well, if Giannis is saying I don't want to stay, and they could be doing this behind it,
But James Harden didn't put Bucks on his list, so. And I think if he did, it would only be if Yanni was there.
Yeah, exactly.
Which kind of defeats the whole purpose. So that shit will never happen. And then where else can he go? I mean, there's a lot of places in the West that he can go, but I think he's happy in Milwaukee. But I do think that they'll most likely trade him. I don't think he's going to finish his career in Milwaukee.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how the NFL is dealing with situations relating to COVID-19, and I think that's a particular case because it is, they're pro athletes, and we've talked about this before. The NCAA has a couple of specific situations, both in football and in basketball, that I don't know how they can continue calling this amateurism when you see Al Blades Jr., son of basically the Blades family or NFL royalty, having Benny Blades and his brother playing in the NFL. He is suffering from myocarditis, which is the inflammation of the heart, which is not a common side effect, but is a possible side effect of COVID-19. And then Keontae Johnson, Florida basketball player, collapses on the court and until this morning was in a medically induced coma. Keontae Johnson tested positive for COVID-19. And one of the things I keep seeing, Terry, about this in the comment sections and stuff is people saying, well, we don't know if it's because of COVID. But isn't the problem that we don't know, and that allowing athletes, specifically student athletes, to perform, it kind of becomes human testing at this point. And I feel gross. And I love college basketball. I love college football. I feel gross watching it in this situation. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a softie or whatever.
But I also think it's this way. It's that's their job.
But not the college players.
No, but technically it is because you're working towards getting the money.
But you might not ever get the money, and part of the reason might be because you played for free.
But if you don't play, you won't get the money.
Just because the market created this unfair system to begin with, because all over Europe in soccer, guys aren't being recruited to play through their colleges. Education is education, and athletics is athletics.
I agree, but this is the infrastructure we have now. But this is their job application.
Right, Terry.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that this is the infrastructure we have now. The infrastructure is these players. Keontae Johnson. It's sad. It is very sad. But if he wants to make it to the NBA, he's going to have to play these games.
So, but what you're saying is,
or else he doesn't make.
If you want to have a chance to play pro basketball, you need to put yourself at risk and put yourself in a coma during time.
What I'm saying is that you and I and Eagle and Duke and Alex the intern and John and Will, we all have jobs, okay?
Correct.
And we are allowed to work. Like we're told you can work from home or whatever. His job does not require him to work from home. His job needs to be in the office on the court. That's his job, okay? And his job, regardless if he's getting paid or not, his job is because he eventually wants to go to the NBA. So why are we taking that right away from him? If he chooses to play,
I'm not
then
saying
that's his call.
I'm saying that this season above all should be where players should have been remunerated for their efforts because of the fact
I
that
agree.
like you're right, it's a job. So let's stop saying it's not a job.
Well, we
The
already give them
NCAA
free
never refers to it
education.
as a job.
We already give them free education fees. So
I mean, then pay the coaches a free education.
yeah, exactly.
Pay like the commissioner of the Pac. Why is the commissioner of the Pac-10 making $5.3 million?
Like, what have you commissioned?
Like, why don't we give him some history classes and say, like, here's your payment because it's an amateur league, right? So
Hey, Nick Saban, we're not going to pay you $20 million this year. What we're going to do is you can take some Econ 201 classes and let me know how it goes. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, it seems like a bizarre argument where you then pay Nick Saban $10 million a year,
Yeah.
And then whatever they're paying him outside of his contract on top of
Well,
that.
I always make the joke, but he's sponsored by Coca-Cola. His press conference has Coca-Cola in the background. He's the only person that sees that money.
And Keontae Johnson is not allowed to get sponsorship from Coca-Cola for the thing he does. But his coach can get the sponsorship for the things he does on the court.
Exactly.
It makes no sense to me. Look, I'm a hypocrite because I'm still watching these games, Terry. You're still watching these games. We're still gambling on these games. We're making money off college football in a good week. But
I did not make any money this week.
well, this season's been a shit show. It's not been a great season for gambling for sure. But I just, it's just something to think about at the very least. And we'll think about it as we head into break.
No break.
No break. Go.
We
Rapid
don't
fire.
know if we're dropping a interview into this part.
Okay, so pick an interview. Chad Jeter from the Saskatchewan Roughriders or Matthew Bergeron from the Syracuse Orange?
You'll hear one of those next.
This show is brought to you by Mike's BBQ Rub, home of the best rubs in town and La Sauce barbecue sauce. Peace.
Just like Rubbercraft, I can't resist a good rub down, and Mike's barbecue sauce is the best rub down in town.
So visit Mike's BBQ Rub, MTL.com, and use Hot Sauce 10 promo code for 10% off on all individual bottles. That's Hot Sauce 10 for 10% off. And don't forget to rub your meat peas. We are pleased to have on an absolute legend at 6'4", 312 pounds. He became the starting right tackle for the Syracuse University football team as a freshman, first of its kind. He was the number 2 overall Canadian prospect according to ESPN, coming out of Tedford CEGEP, Papier. And did I mention he was the Pro Football Focus second team All-American? Please welcome Matthew Bergeron from Syracuse University. How's it going, buddy?
It's good. I'm good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. I mean, I'm glad you came on, gave us a chance to talk to you. I know there's a few Canadian boys on your team, so we reached out to a couple of you guys. You were the first person to come back to us. How's your season been going, man? I know the season's pretty much over now. Tell me the experience you guys had this year. You guys had some big games this year, some big opponents. What was it like?
Yeah, so it was a rough season. I'm not gonna lie to you. We had our record was 1-9, but I feel like this year I gained a lot of experience, and we got an extra year of eligibility. So I just took this year off to get better technique and stuff. So we had like you said, we played Clemson over there. It was a great experience. A lot of good opponents. In the future NFL drafts. 5 stars coming out of high school, and then we played Notre Dame, same thing. A lot of prospects. So man, it was good for me, and I think I did well. So I'm happy.
I mean, everything I read about you guys, Syracuse, is you guys are a super young team that eventually you guys are gonna blow up. And I played football at Vanier, and I remember Syracuse was always at our practices recruiting, and they were always at our games recruiting other kids from Quebec. What was it like, the recruiting process coming to Syracuse, going to Syracuse, coming from Quebec?
So unlike some other Quebecers on the team, so how I got recruited. So I with Thetford, I went down to a camp. So nobody knew me. I was a no name. I just went down for fun for a camp. My coaches took me down there and all that, and I just surprised other coaches, and then they start getting info. They'll start talking to my mom and stuff, like, who's this kid? No. Like at the end of the practice, they set me down. They said, "Oh, we gonna call you next week. I think we're gonna offer you now." And then like during the practice, I was doing one-on-ones, and then Buffalo just offered me out of nowhere. They said,
Oh,
"Matthew,
really?
we're gonna offer you now." I was like, "Whoa!" I just came down here, you know what I'm saying, for fun. I wasn't even supposed to go at first, and it was crazy. And then when I got back home, some teams started like texting me and stuff. So it was crazy. But when Syracuse offered me, I didn't even wait because it's close to home, so it was easy for my family to come down and see me playing the Dome. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially in the Dome, even if you're anywhere north of, let's say, I don't know, like Chicago, it gets pretty cold, right? So it's like,
yeah,
so it's good that your family's gonna be, oh, it's okay, it's
hmm
a Dome, it's not that bad, you know. So,
yeah,
but Carrier Stadium is pretty interesting because it's one of the few Division One schools that plays in a dome, and
yeah.
it's crazy to be there and see like the Orange fans, and it was just probably tough this year, right? You guys didn't really have a lot of fans, right?
We didn't have. So we played at some school where they have fans,
Mm.
and when we played at home, we weren't allowed to have no fans. So it was kind of tough. But like even for basketball games, like, I like to go to see the basketball game because I got a couple of friends on the team, and it's just crazy. Like the dome atmosphere is just different.
Yeah, it takes everything away from it, right? Especially with the
Hmm
fans, because the fans, when you're in the dome, like everybody talks about how, like, the Saints, how their fans are like how it's like almost like a 12th man out there, playing in a stadium because it
Yeah,
gets so loud, and you kind of
yeah.
take that aspect away from Syracuse. Not that was the reason why you guys didn't do
hmm
well this year. I think it's more
hmm
just because you guys are in that 4 year, you guys are in that circle where that rotation where every 4 years you're probably gonna have a year where it's not gonna be too good because you're recruiting younger guys. So I mean, I like Syracuse. I've always been infatuated by Syracuse because I knew a couple of guys that went there when I was playing football, and the uniforms, man, the uniforms are sick for me. I love
Yeah,
the
the
orange.
new so my first year they changed it. So like my freshman year last year, we played with new uniforms. I think they're better than the past ones. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, just the all orange is really sick. So
Yeah.
you're from Montreal. You moved to Victoriaville. You played at Thetford, CJEP.
hmm
Uh,
Yeah.
I played at Vanier. I never heard of Thetford
hmm
until like maybe
I
4 years
I
ago.
didn't I didn't hear like so like out of high school I had a lot of people talk from D1 to D3. I had a lot of school interest, and I don't know, like it's just like Thetford, the relation I had with the coaches and like what they wanted to do with the school, like the vision of the school, and even like when I went down there for a visit, like the principal, like everybody, just the whole like they had teachers for me, all that. I just felt like it was my place, and I had a lot of friends down there too. So I just said I might just go and change the culture over there
That's good, man.
instead of going to a D1 school where you already got a bunch of talent and you just want to win a championship. I just wanted to when I went to Thetford, I wanted to change like the whole culture of the school, and I think
Yeah,
I did. You know what I'm saying? I opened the door for college football for Thetford. So I think
you did. I mean, and like I said, I only heard about it 4 years. I'm 34, so my CJEP years
hmm
were 12 years ago. 14 years ago. So I mean, when I heard of Thetford a few years ago, because I'm involved in the in prep school recruiting for hockey, and when I was
yeah.
looking into CJEPs, doing a combine for CJEPs and stuff, I'd come
hmm
across Thetford, and I never heard about it. And just hearing it slowly, and then I hear, oh, there's a kid that went to Syracuse from Thetford, and then I see that you're the first one to get a D1
hmm
offer. It must be big for that school to get a kid
Yeah.
to go D1.
Yeah, it was big. So everybody was proud of me. And like I keep going back there, you know what I'm saying, talk to the coaches, I stay in touch with the school and you know what I'm saying. I really like my 2 years down there. So
So
I'm
now the
happy.
season's over. Now the
hmm
season's over. What are you doing? You're training. Did you start training already? Or who are you training with?
So the season was over Saturday and I'm taking a week off right now, get my body rest up and all that. And I'm gonna start training next week.
And who are you training with? In
I'm
Montreal, I
training.
guess.
No, I'm training by myself here. I
Yeah.
got some stuff by myself here, and they sent me how you call it, a training sheet.
Oh, your
Yeah,
program, yeah.
my bad. Yeah, program.
And you're in Montreal, or you back in Victoriaville?
I'm in Victoriaville right now.
Okay. So you're training.
Yeah.
It's true. It's tough. You can't really train with anybody, but as long as you stay focused, right? And I think that's the most important thing. And I mean, I've seen it happen a bunch of times where kids just go to they're basically learning how to be an adult on their own when they get these D1 offers, and it's like you got to stay focused. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in the fun and Twitch and all these things and having fun. But the reality is that you wouldn't have those things if you didn't have this opportunity. And I think that a lot of kids miss those opportunities. But it looks like you're handling it well, man. It looks like you're handling it well. What do you bench?
I'm just trying to stay. I'm just trying to stay humble. But yeah, like you talking about what I bench?
Yeah, what do you bench?
Oh, my fault. So my PR 3 times, I bench 355.
Oh, for real? I would have thought it was more.
No, because last year I didn't have a real off season because of the virus, and I wasn't with the freshmen working out because I was a starter as a freshman. So like I was just training with the guys that already squat 700 pounds and shit. I'm just a freshman.
It's crazy to see somebody lift crazy amounts of weight. Like I remember I seen a kid play bench 415, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. How like that person's able to lift that much weight from their back, and
it's crazy. So I was just a little kid with all these big guys, and I was going to the off season. We got sent home, and the summer workouts that weren't normal, like so. It wasn't I didn't have a big off season, but I'm focused on the next semester. So
that's
I'm ready
good.
to go all in and get stronger.
And your semester starts when?
January 25th.
January 25th?
Yeah.
And so Syracuse, you guys had to travel a lot. You guys went to Notre Dame. You guys went to South Bend. I mean, I think that's probably the most iconic football stadium in the States. So I mean, in the world, and at least the American football stadium. What was it like going against Book and seeing those guys do what they're doing?
It was crazy. Like seeing guys like 2 years ago, I was just sitting here watching the national championship with all my friends, and like I watched college football like it was the NFL. Like we didn't have, you know what I'm saying. But right now, playing against these guys is just crazy, and like I really appreciate it. You know what I'm saying, being able to play at this level and seeing guys like Ian Book, future stars in the NFL, and Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and a lot of respect for these guys. And just seeing Ian Book like scrambling out of the pocket and just making stuff, it was just crazy. Like even
I watched that game.
Like, yeah, he went off, and I think he set a record, right? 30 wins as a starter.
Yeah,
I'm saying a lot of respect for that.
I watched that game. It was the same night as there was fights on that night. I was going back and forth. And I watched that game, and I was like, but that's why what I really like about Syracuse is that, I mean, you can talk about Culpepper, you can give me a little rundown of him, but for the realistically, I do think that you guys have like a lot of future talent on this team, and it'd be interesting to see what you guys can do in the Big East, because the Big East right now is kind of like on a makeover.
So like, the year they went 10-3, they had like a bunch of seniors that year. Guys that played when they were young and stuff. So I think that's what's happening right now. They all left that year, and then we just got a bunch of young guys that came in, you know what I'm saying, got on the field a little early, and right now we're just getting experience. But when our junior year and senior year come by, we're gonna be a hell of a team. And you know what I'm saying, we gave a challenge to teams like Clemson and the Notre Dame game. I was even surprised. Like I was like, man, we really with them guys, but we had a couple of mistakes that cost us the game.
Are you naturally a right tackle, or did they move you there?
So I started the season as a right tackle, coming off my freshman year. But then at the Duke game, I was doing good and stuff, and the coaches just thought I'd be good at left. So I switched at left at the Duke game, and I stayed there for the whole season. I think it's gonna be my spot for the next few years.
Left tackle is a big money spot too, and it's
that's what I'm trying to work on.
I mean, all the power to you, man. So, I mean, you said you're from Montreal. I don't know when you moved, but we'll ask you this: is like we're huge. I don't know if you ever seen the show. We're huge on food, and we love food. And every time we've had a few offensive linemen on, and we've had a few CFLers on, and we always ask them what their post game meal is, where their best poutine is, and what's the best road meal you've had so far.
So Roll me, I had was down in Clemson. I forgot the name. I forgot the name. It's really a little spot. It's a little like dining spot. And
It's
my
always the little
buddy,
spots that are the best ones.
yeah,
Always.
big portions for cheap, wings, burgers, all that, and poutine. Obviously, Victoriaville is like. So there's this debate between Drummondville and Victoriaville, like who invented the poutine, and like so I live in Victoriaville, so I'll say it's Victoriaville, but like the poutine is just better like down here than compared to cities like Quebec or Montreal.
Oh, for real?
So
Okay. I don't know. I got to
so
challenge you on this one, man.
yeah, so I be taking my friends from Montreal down here, like in Victoria, and they like they say it's the best. And like it down in the United States, there's some places that call poutine disco fries.
Disco fries.
So
They put cheese on
yeah,
it.
so I got I got to fight with them. I'm like, nah, don't call that some disco fries when you with me. It's poutine, bro.
Yeah, you can't fuck around with that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take a name and just change it because you feel like changing it. What the hell kind of a name is disco fries anyway?
That's what I'm saying. It's like what the fuck, bro. But yeah, so I had a couple of arguments with my so the quarterback Tommy DeVito, he's from Jersey, and they call it disco fries down here. One time we went to eat in Syracuse, and I saw poutine on the menu, and he didn't know what it was. I was like, bro, it's French fries with gravy and cheese curds. He said, no, that's disco fries. I said, get out of here.
Get the fuck out. Of course, with a name like Tommy DeVito, he's from New Jersey, though, of course.
Yeah.
So what's your post game meal then? Like, what's your go-to?
Post game meal. There's a mall in Syracuse. It's a place called Johnny Rockets. So they got so they got burgers, French fries, and I always got to take the milkshake. I'm a big milkshake guy. Strawberry milkshake always.
Oh yeah, I think you and I are gonna get along great, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we had I don't know if you're a fan of the CFL or not, but we've had a few CFLers on, and we're kind of trying to get like what I want to do is I want to do like a mini combine. So we had Rene Paredes on. He's a kicker, and I want to see. I'm gonna test my kicking skills versus his kicking skills. Now I played a little. I played D line at Vandy. I was garbage. I rolled the bench, but I'm convinced that I will be able to get by you. So
I don't think it's gonna happen. Bro. I don't think it's gonna happen. A lot of guys tried this year.
I know.
Some of them were surprised for real.
I saw. So if we're probably gonna be getting together and doing like a little mini combine with like some videos and stuff and doing a joke about it.
I got you.
Yeah, good. You're down.
I got you.
Hey, man. It's great, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with your training. Good luck with the next season. You guys have a good thing going, man. I really do. I really do think that, and it's not because you're on, but as I watched a couple games this year, because not much else to watch, you know. And I wasn't always a huge NCAA guy. Like I follow it, you know. Like I know I can carry conversations and stuff, but
yeah,
I was a Big East. I used to watch the Big East a lot because one of my best friends went to UConn. He's a 4-year starter there at center, and he when he was there, we used to go to all the games. And the one game I missed was Syracuse. A bunch of my friends went to Syracuse and watched the game. And that was the one game I always missed. And I always had a thing with Syracuse because of it. Like I told you before, the uniforms, even the basketball team. I was a fan of them back in the day with Carmelo Anthony. And
and it's close to home too, so it's easy.
That's it. It's close, right? So for me, it was always like I had that thing. So every time I see Syracuse on TV, I always watch. And I watched the Notre Dame game this year, and it was. I think you guys have a good thing going, man. I really do, and I wish you all the best.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
That was Matthew Bergeron on Hot Sauce Sports. Appreciate you taking the time, buddy. Again, good luck with the rest of the season. We'll talk soon.
All right, bro. We'll stay in touch.
This show is brought to you by Mike's BBQ Rub, home of the best rubs in town, and La Sal's barbecue sauce, peas.
Absolutely. They will get you satisfied in 12 seconds or less, just like Rick Pitino at that restaurant.
So visit Mike's BBQ Rub, MTL.com, and use Hot Sauce 10 promo code for 10% off on all individual bottles. That's Hot Sauce 10 for 10% off. And peas, don't forget to rub your meat.
It's time for Rapid Fire.
What is this rating interview? That was awesome.
Our first topic for Rapid Fire, pearly white lies. Rob Gronkowski and Floyd Mayweather are being sued for their involvement in a campaign for a company that produced LED-powered teeth whitening strips.
Well, what's wrong with the teeth whitening strips?
They don't work.
They don't work. Here's some of the claims from the lawsuit that I found to be particularly funny.
Oh, is it the mouth guard put in with the lights? Conor McGregor was sponsored by them too. Yeah, it was full of shit from the beginning.
Well, so one of the claims that's in the lawsuit is they claim that it's they won a whole bunch of awards, but if you go look up the awards, they didn't win any of them. It says that they're been recommended in over 200 countries, but there aren't 200 countries in the world. So that was funny. But then, I feel like I get it. They lied to you. But if you thought that Christmas lights would make your teeth shine, and that Rob Gronkowski and Floyd Mayweather were trustworthy when it came to selling you things, it's kind of on you. It's like that chick who spilled coffee on herself and then sued McDonald's because her coffee was hot.
It's like ordering spicy food and then suing the restaurant for for being too spicy.
Yeah, suing them for your bloody asshole. Exactly.
All right, next. Drive-by water balloons. Jake Paul's Instagram account shows he's only following Dylan Dennis's girlfriend, and a video surfaced showing him riding in the back of a pickup and throwing water balloons, and I think some trash too, actually, while driving by, of which, to show that he was tough, he hung around until Dennis started chasing after him, which he said, okay, let's roll out fast.
So a few things here is that, he looked like a bitch by running away, but he can make like $25 to $50 million fighting Dylan Dennis for real. So why fight him on the street? That I understand, but it just the optics of it looks bad. Two is that he also followed Conor McGregor's wife, so he follows two people. It's Dee Devlin, Dee Devlin with Conor McGregor's wife, and Sav Montano, he's his ex-girlfriend and Dylan Dennis' new girlfriend. So there's like a little background story there. And the thing about Dylan Dennis, he's been going after both Paul brothers for a couple of years now on Twitter and stuff, and they've been having like a beef. But I think they secretly like each other. Like I don't think there's a hate there. I think they know how to use each other for fame.
Look, I think the Pauls, when they fight real fighters, especially at the level of Dylan Dennis, or apparently Jake Paul's wanted to fight Conor McGregor as well. They're gonna lose those fights, but they're gonna win the internet, right? That the Pauls, they've made their career on the internet, so stuff like this will go viral, and it's gonna force fights to happen. So I don't blame him I don't like the Pauls. I think they're annoying, just like everyone else. I can't wait to see him get knocked the fuck out. But in the meantime, I can't blame him for being on his hustle, man. He's trying to make money while he can. Why not? Go for it.
I don't think Dylan Dennis is as easy as a fight. I don't think it's an easy fight for Dylan Dennis. I think that Dylan Dennis he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and he's just got into the fight game. So I don't know how good his hands are. They're decent. They're good. But Jake Paul just does boxing. So if you take the boxing, I think that it's actually almost an even fight. And I'm a Dylan Dennis fan.
Yeah.
Next.
I agree.
Next, St. Nickelodeon. The NFL has scheduled games on Nickelodeon, and apparently to make it more, I guess, Nickelodeon themed, they're going to digitally superimpose slime in the end zones, and players will have googly guys on them during replays. So yeah, this is actual football, apparently.
Is this real?
Yes, it's real. That's why I'm like, this makes no fucking sense.
What?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I was surprised Nickelodeon still exists as a network, and how did they get NFL games?
Well, I think Disney
know.
Plus. I think Disney owns Nickelodeon, or NBC. I think NBC might own Nickelodeon, actually.
Well, so here's the thing. I actually don't hate it because it's just a game. So who cares?
Stupid.
The slime is not actually on the field.
It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
I mean, I guess. Will you enjoy it less because there's slime? I won't. It'll just.
I'm not going to watch the game on Nickelodeon, so I'm not even going to see it.
That's a good point, actually, because we don't get Nickelodeon in Canada. So where's the topic, Eagle? Come on.
All right. They're always watching you. The Texans violate the NFL COVID protocol with at least 6 players gathering at the opening of Deshaun Watson's new cheesesteak restaurant. Bubble time, question mark again, fines. What's going to happen here?
I was just curious about why they're going to an opening for a cheesesteak restaurant. Like, that's like going to an opening of a hot dog stand. Like, do you really need 6 of your friends to be... Isn't that going to fill up the entire restaurant? It's just a cheesesteak place. I mean, like, they can just go later and get themselves a cheesesteak. I don't understand what
cheesesteak is a Philly cheesesteak, right? It's like a sub.
Yeah, it's a sandwich.
It's not a steak with cheese on it.
Correct. Oh, I mean, it is steak with a cheese-like substance poured on it.
Cheese whiz.
Yeah, exactly. It contains no cheese.
I mean, I don't hate that they went. I mean, you want to support your friend, but I think that they're going to have to pay some consequences if they all got sick.
Like, you know the rules, and like the NFL, we've seen NFL teams continuously violate these rules, and then all of these players need to sit out, and we see games rescheduled. And I'm tired of watching Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's the Texans. Though. It's the
Do
Texans.
your thing. Do what you have to do to get to the game, please.
I actually like that sometimes we'll get a Tuesday night game or a Wednesday night game.
It's exhausting, Terry, when you're trying to put a show together.
Yeah, that I can.
Who throw the shoe? Florida loses in surprise fashion to LSU after Marco Wilson was penalized for throwing his opponent's shoe downfield. LSU would then kick a game winner 6 plays later, and there goes the ball game.
So I joined In Play Live. I joined their circle, and one of the bets was Florida minus 23, and I took that one, and I guess it didn't work out.
No, it did not. It did not. And not because he threw the shoe, because that game was too close for you to win that bet anyway. Look, this may surprise you, or it may not. I saw it and I laughed, and I enjoyed it. And then he got penalized for, what's it called? Unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm like, man, he threw a shoe. It's not a big deal. No one was in danger. Like, I guess it's delay a game too, because the guy's got to go get his shoe. I just picture this instead of happening in college where you have millions of people working there. Imagine it happens in high school, and the guy whose shoe got thrown has to limp over, one foot with some spikes on, the other one in just his sock. He has to sadly go get his shoe after getting tackled. But I guess it all worked out because they got the penalty.
And Mokan must be pissed as a Florida Gators fan.
I guess.
Which means
really
I haven't.
Get mad for a guy throwing a shoe is my
Which
point.
means I haven't sent him enough through showing shoe throwing memes yet. So I will start today.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, unlike last week, my stomach is doing great. I don't need to run off to take a shit in the middle of the outro. Eagle, thank you for signing off for me last week. It was excellent. Definitely visual comedy for those who watched the show. It was funny to hear as well. I don't know what was wrong with me. I had a terrible night that night. After that, something did not agree with me. But thank you for filling in. Thank you for Duke for filling in that week as well. Terry, man, you've been awesome. It's been great to have the show, have you back on the show again. And we got one more before Christmas. So let's get that done. Looking forward to it. I don't know what else to say. So, Eagle, end the show. Awkward.
You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports.
They heard your voice do the thingy again.
Nice. You did the thing. We really should figure out a proper... Oh, also, yes. Follow, subscribe, watch us, do all those things. That's the thing I keep forgetting to say. Bye.